Hey everybody, it's Mike D at downpeppertreelane.com. We're going to talk about the grunge music today. Did it kill rock? First of all, YouTube informed me I got this special award for 5,000 views. So thank you guys very much. I think I'm a good storyteller and talking about pop culture back in the day, and I make it fun. And they're little podcasts. I don't appear on camera that much. I'm more of a narrator. I want you to just enjoy these podcasts in the background. But today we're in my funky garage, which I've turned into a lounge. So the story goes, I mean, in the early 80s, MTV kind of took the ball with rock and roll. And teenagers all across America started tuning into MTV around 81, really 82, for what's popular and hot in rock music. And they still listen to the radio, of course. But MTV was a big deal in high schools. It was a player. It was a player in the game. And a hot video that was fun and it had great, you know, effects or dancers or whatever was where people would run to that video and buy the album and play the song. So rock and roll really made a home in MTV in the 80s. And from 86 to 91, hair metal was massive. And big hair and makeup and putting on a real show. And it was party rock and let's have a good time. And it was pretty positive and feel good. It's like at the end of the week, Friday night, go out, have a blast, have a party. And that was 5 or 6 years, a long time. It was just, I thought it would keep rolling forever. And so in 91, in October 1st, I mean, really almost to the day, I remember a lot of us turned on the TV that first week in October, and there was this band out of Seattle, really dark and negative, kind of a grainy, moody video. A real bummer. I felt bad about it. I didn't like the voice. It was Nirvana. It was grungy and sour. It sounded like a really rough garage band. And the garage band I knew was the Ramones, and they never made it because, oh, their sound is too rough. We can't ever really play the Ramones on the radio and make them legit. They're too rough. They're a garage band. So all of a sudden, this really cringy or crungy music is on MTV. It's been accepted. It's being heavily promoted. And these guys are not dressed up. They're just wearing jeans. They look like someone you might see at Goodwill or something. Just their hair in their face, very unhappy. No more smiles anymore. No more celebration of life or fun or no humor. It was dead serious. That was a big problem I had with it. So I didn't like it. Um, but I thought, well, that's going to be a new thing that's going to be side by side with rock. It's going to share the culture with rock, and to each his own. There's a Hot 100, and there's plenty of room in the Hot 100 for everybody. So late 91 and 92 was kind of a tricky year. You had some of the bigger bands still doing well. I remember Kiss came out with Revenge. They needed a strong album at that point, and it was. Kiss delivered like dominoes, and they even had a song called Domino. And they did well. Kiss did fine, and Bon Jovi delivered with I think it was New Jersey. I might have, yeah, I think, and or Keep the Faith. But they had a big album in '92. They did well. They were going to continue, and Def Leppard had another one. I believe it was Euphoria, and it did well. I mean, not as big as before, but still a solid single or a double, in the game of baseball. And so, but very quickly, the landscape was changing rapidly. So you had Soundgarden and other groups, and darker metal like Metallica became really popular. Everything was dark. Everything was morose, sad, complaining. A lot of it came from Seattle, which I had visited, and I had some family up there, and the weather was always dark and rainy. Really, an outdoor picnic would be a big deal. You'd really have to finesse the weather to do an outdoor picnic, you know? And lots of indoor people, and a real moodiness that I wasn't comfortable with being from California. And I'm used to, sunshine and the Beach Boys, but that's me. This is one man's story, okay? So, these other bands like Pearl Jam really rapidly started taking over MTV and the culture and radio. And it was pretty clear at this point the party was over. It was time to complain and life sucks and it's a bummer. And these were depressives. The culture changed very rapidly, and for the first time, I was still young, but I started to feel alienated. I'm like, I don't relate to this. I'm not going to wear like the flannel shirts and old jeans and all of that, and it's not me. And I kind of shifted over to pop music, which was really popular at the time, like things like George Michael or Madonna. I will say U2 still maintained popularity. I was like a U2 fan, but they were never hair metal to begin with. So I remember there's different theories about why this happened. One theory is the music industry, they don't want a lot of rich celebrities getting royalties. They want to throw them all away and start with a fresh new group of garage bands out of Seattle and sign fresh contracts and start them all at the bottom. That's one theory. Another theory is big corporations just, for some reason, really wanted to promote more negative music, and it was just a cycle in the music industry. There's many theories. You can really dig into this one as you wish. But luckily, there was VH1. I remember a lot of us jumped over to VH1, and they were playing like, oh, the latest by Jackson Browne, or the latest by Rod Stewart, or the latest by Joni Mitchell. So a lot of us just jumped over to pop rock, and that's in my wheelhouse anyway. But it was really strange. A lot of these bands were shocked. Like Warrant was shocked, Great White, Poison, Cinderella, Britney Fox. I mean, somewhat Motley Crue. They did retain like their fan base, and they would have a gold album, but it wouldn't be platinum anymore. But they had a hardcore fan base, but they weren't like the Kings anymore. Um, and then, Nirvana, they had one more album, and Kurt Cobain tried to kill himself. And I remember the second album, In Utero, was not that popular. I don't remember anyone really being excited about it. And he tried to kill himself. He barely survived. And how do you promote an album if you're like in the hospital, And then like a month or two later, he did kill himself. And as far as I was concerned, I'm like, this does not appeal to me at all. I don't see him as a martyr or really standing for anything, but I'm not of that teenage generation. It was a new group of kids, so that was their hero, but it wasn't mine. He didn't really speak to me at all. I'm just going with my gut here. I thought some of the music was okay. I'm just gonna say it was okay, but not anything I was passionate about. So the other consolation prize for hard rock bands is You can go acoustic. Turn off your electric guitars. You can sit down with a stool at the edge of the stage. This is like 92, 93, and you can be acoustic. And this was Tesla, like 5-man acoustical jam. And they have a great song called Signs. I strongly recommend you listen to Signs, which is a cover. And Kiss did Unplugged acoustic. And Eric Clapton did Unplugged acoustic. And that was massive. Really popular. Um, Gosh, there were so many MTV Unplugged TV shows. Rod Stewart did Unplugged and Seated. Massively popular. So they were smart to shift over to where it was at now and do an acoustic record. Firehouse did pretty well, especially in other countries. And Firehouse continued having hits because they were kind of acoustic by nature, or it was an easy transition for them. And they never wore a lot of makeup and eyeshadow, so they were able to continue for 5 or 6 more years. And I love Firehouse, by the way. They have a record called Good Acoustics. I strongly recommend checking out Firehouse Good Acoustics. And so at least we had all of our rockers going unplugged, but it was weird watching these heavy metal guys just sitting at the end of the stage. And that's what, like around a campfire, almost like, kumbaya. Wasn't like that, but definitely the industry said, nope, we only want your softer material, and that's that to survive. And I remember like Stevie Nicks came out with an album around then, and it bombed, or it was gold, which for her was not good. And it's a great album. There's a song called Maybe Love Can Change Your Mind. I strongly recommend you listen to that one because it shows at the time how kind of a pop rocker like Stevie Nicks, even she was affected by the grunge wave, and it just wasn't her time anymore. And I really liked that Stevie Nicks record. It's called Street Angel. So she put a lot into that. She put like 2 years, and she redid the whole album. And I see the work there. I see you, Stevie. Pat Benatar tried to come back with, I think, Gravity's Rainbow. Didn't really do well anymore. The ship had passed her by. And just a few years before, she was queen of MTV. And it's really sad to see this happen to your heroes. They're just being knocked over one by one. So, she still toured to this day. She toured, but her run of hit records, which is fantastic, was kind of over. And David Lee Roth kind of did a weird grungy record. I did not like it at all. I think he should have just stuck with the party rock, stay in his lane. And Billy Idol did a weird shock rock or grungy industrial record. I didn't like that. I wish they'd either sit it out for a couple years, and by 96 it was already nostalgia for party rock because Kiss came back with makeup and they sold out everywhere for the next 5 years. Kiss was massive, and people wanted to go back already by 96. And by 98 there was already these party rock hair metal festivals, and there was starting to be demand for, they were getting record contracts like Poison and Warrant and all of these bands, maybe not selling it at the bigger levels, but concert wise doing extremely well. And all of them are still touring to this day, and their old catalog all selling really evergreen. And it's, in the end, it's positive, it's motivating, it makes you feel good, you want to relax on the weekend at night. And I think this music is a winner. So, and I know this because I just read a book called The Rise and Fall of Hair Metal, and you can check that book out, and it'll show you that really by 98, 99, everyone was running back to those concerts, and they were selling out stadiums and arenas. And I do want to mention Cinderella did a great comeback record in 94 called Still Climbing. and they did some softer acoustic stuff. And boy, it's really good. It's really fantastic. Cinderella was the real deal. And if you want to find a record that got lost in the shuffle during that time, I would check out Cinderella, Still Climbing. And those are my thoughts on the instant crash of rock music going over to grunge. And there was a lot of gangster rap that also came in during that time, which had a lot of negative lyrics as well. Like positive rap went kind of negative too with the lyrics. So that was just the feeling at that time. And it was across the board. But for about 5 or 6 years, like I said. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. And I am going to ask, I'm going to put my Venmo down if any of you want to be angels or sponsors to me. That would really be great to have a little bit of support financially back, or go to my website and buy my stuff. I have cool jewelry and things at downpeppertreelane.com. Like and subscribe, and we'll leave it at that. Rock and roll. Take care. Bye.